Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. I hope you all are fine. Today we are going to start our new chapter, that is turning effect of forces. You can see on your screen these are the following points that we will discuss in this chapter. Today we are going to discuss forces of body, like and unlike parallel forces, and how forces act on a body to produce turning effect. Basically we will discuss today, and other topics we will discuss furthermore in this chapter. Okay class, before starting our topic, we have a quick review. What is force? You have already learned in chapter number 3. You can see in the picture, by applying a push and pull force, we can change the position and also change the shape of body. Force moves and tends to move, stop and tends to stop of motion of body. Okay, our topic is 4.1, like and unlike parallel forces. First of all, we should know what is parallel lines. Parallel lines never intersect each other and they have a 0-degree angle between them. You can see on a screen. First of all, this is the vertical, two parallel lines. Second one is horizontal parallel lines, and further two are other examples you can see on a screen. Because force is a vector quantity, so there is also a direction. Now we are discussing about the like parallel forces. Like means same direction, so like parallel forces always have a same direction and they are parallel to each other. As you can see in the picture, some people are pushing the bus to start it. All the forces are applied in the same direction, so these forces are called like parallel forces. Parallel forces. Like parallel forces are the forces that are parallel to each other and have the same direction. So there is an example you can see in the figure number 4.3, the bag of apples. The weight of every apple in the bag is the force of gravity acting on it, that is showing by the arrow vertically downward. The weight of apple are parallel forces. This is the example of like parallel forces, that every force acting vertically downward in the same direction, and these forces are parallel to each other. Okay, unlike parallel forces. Unlike means the direction of the forces is opposite to each other, but they are parallel to each other. Definition is here. Unlike parallel forces are the forces that are parallel but have direction opposite to each other. For example, you can see in the figure 4.4a, the apple is suspended to a string. The weight of apple is vertically downward and the tension in the string pulling it vertically upward. Here the point of force applied is the same, so there is no rotation. You can see that these forces are parallel but opposite to each other, and the point where the force is applied is same. So the apple is suspended in the air, not capable to move anywhere. If we are applying two opposite forces on a same line or on a same point, there will be no rotation. As we have seen in the case of suspended apple, the forces are opposite but they are lying in the same line, so there will be no rotation. So we have another example you can see in figure number 4.4b. There are two forces F1 and F2. They are also unlike parallel forces, but the point where is the force applied is different. The forces F1 and F2 are not lying in the same line. So whenever the line of where the force is applied is not same, the body is capable to do rotation. Okay, at the end of this topic, we have some short questions. Question number 1, define like parallel forces, give an example. You have to define it and give one example of bag of apples. I have already discussed with you in this slide. Okay, next question is question number 2, define unlike parallel forces, give an example. You have to define unlike parallel forces and give any one example. We have discussed 2 examples. You have to give only one example, but you have to learn both examples. Question number 3, what is difference between like and unlike parallel forces? You have to define both forces with their examples. Jazakallah. Okay, now our next topic is addition of forces. Before start that topic, let's revise the scalar and vector quantities. As you can see, scalar quantity is described by its magnitude only, for example mass, time and length. And vector quantities is described by the magnitude and direction, for example force, displacement and velocity. Okay, when we are talking about scalar quantities, we know scalar quantity described by magnitude only. So, if we want to add 10 kg and 5 kg masses, so we will simply add the magnitude mathematically, like 10 kg plus 5 kg is equals to 15 kg, because mass is the scalar quantity. And when we are talking about force, because we are discussing about addition of forces, force is a vector quantity. It has both magnitude and direction. So if we want to add two forces like F1 and F2, we have to add both direction and magnitude. Therefore forces are not added by ordinary arithmetic rule. So the next heading is resultant force. When forces are added, we get a resultant force. In simple words, resultant force means sum of all the forces acting on a body. So by definition is at the end of your page number 86. A resultant force is a single force that have the same effect as the combined effect of all the forces to be added. So this is a definition of resultant force, and it is a short question. Define resultant force, and this is the definition is the answer. Okay, next is resultant vector. When vectors are added, we get resultant vector. The definition is same as the resultant force, just we replace force by the vector. Like a resultant vector is a single vector that have the same effect as the combined effect of all the vectors to be added. This is also a short question. Define resultant vector, and you just have to define the resultant vector as you can see on your screen. Just definition. So the question is that how we can add forces. Forces are added by head-to-tail rule. This method is graphical method of vector addition, and in this method magnitude and direction of force or vector can be added. You have studied in chapter number 3 about the graphical representation of vector. So you can see on your screen a blue vector with a tail and head. So graphically vector is represented by a line segment. The length of line gives a magnitude on certain scale, and the arrow indicates the direction. So basically direction of force is on axis, like x-axis and on y-axis, and we will indicate the direction towards north, west or south, or towards the x-axis on positive side or towards the x-axis on negative side, as well towards the y-axis on positive side and towards the negative side of y-axis. So you can see that this is a definition of vector addition head to tail rule, a graphical method to find the resultant of two and more than two vectors or forces. The vector can be added are drawn in such a way that the head of first vector coincide the tail of second vector, and the head of second vector coincide with the tail of third vector, and so on. The resultant of all the vectors obtained by joining the tail of first vector with the head of the last vector is called the head to tail rule. This is the complete definition of head to tail rule, and we will explain further in step by step in next explanation in next slide. And this is a short question. If you write the answer of this short question, you have to write the complete definition from starting a graphical method and ending on the last vector is called head to tail rule. This is for 2 marks. Okay, now we are going to discuss the following steps. There are the following steps to find the resultant of two or more forces by using head to tail rule. First of all, select a suitable scale, then draw the vectors of all forces according to scale, such as vector A and vector B. You can see vector A and vector B on your screen with the arrowhead and tail. In second step, take any one of vector as vector first vector. For example, we are taking a vector A. Third step, draw a next vector B such that its tail coincide with the head of first vector A. You can see in the figure that the head of arrowhead of vector A is coincide with the tail of vector B, and you have to do in all situations when we are going to use a head to tail rule, we will always do that the head of the first vector will always coincide with the tail of the next vector. So in the fourth step, similarly draw the next vector for the third force, if any force, with the tail coinciding with the head of previous vector, and so on. And the last step, now we have to find the resultant of force. So now draw a vector R such that its tail is at the tail of vector A, the first vector, while the head of is at the head of vector B, that is the last vector. You can see in the figure. Sixth step is vector R represents the resultant force completely in magnitude and direction. Okay, now at the last, come towards the long question. We have a one long question from this topic head to tail rule with two different statements. You can see question number 1, how head to tail rule helps to find the resultant of forces. Write the procedure. Question number 2, which method is used for addition of forces? Explain with example. Okay, the headings of answer is addition of force, resultant force, the definition of resultant force, head to tail rule, the definition of head to tail rule. Figure 4.5 you can see on your book, figure number 4.5. You have to draw all the figures in 4.5, and the methods, the 6 steps of methods is the complete whole answer for the long question. Okay, now we have example number 4.1, which is on your page number 87. The statement of this example is, Find the resultant of three forces: 12 Newton along x-axis, 8 Newton making angle of 45 degree with x-axis, and 8 Newton along y-axis. Okay, now we are going to solve example number 4.1. So the given data is here. We have three forces in the statement F1, F2 and F3. Okay, now we are going to find the resultant of all these forces F. By using the head to tail rule, we just draw the forces F1, F2 and F3 by using head to tail rule. First of all, what we are going to do, scale. We have to set the scale because the forces is in Newton and the scale that we are using centimeter scale. So we have to convert our forces into centimeter. So let's suppose the scale is 1 centimeter is equals to 2 Newton. So according to our scale, F1 is equals to 6 centimeter, F2 is equals to 4 centimeter, F3 is equals to 4 centimeter. And here is an angle also. This is the angle 45 degree with the force of F2. So we will draw and this angle, then we will draw the force. First of all, what we have to do, after the setting the scale, you can see over here, this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and these forces are drawn over here between the x and y-axis. So firstly we draw force F1, which is 6 centimeter with x-axis. So by using the scale, just measure the 6 centimeter. As you can see, I am going to show you like 0 to 6 centimeter. Exactly the measurement of 6 centimeter, you just draw the line like here, you can see, and name this line A and B. This is the tail of this vector and this is the head of this vector. Okay, now the second step is we have to draw the force F2. Before drawing the force F2, we just mark the angle 45 degree. On the point of B, we just place the protector over the head of force F1. So this is the protector. You have to place like this. You have to place the protector over the head of force F1 and mark the angle 45 degree. You have to draw this force in the direction of 45 degree. After marking the point 45 degree, just join the tail of F2 with the head of point B. So this is the measurement of 4 centimeter. This is also taken from the scale. This scale, you just place the scale over the head of force F1, this like this. So this is 4 centimeter. Or after 4 centimeter, you just draw the head where the 4 centimeter ends, and the tail is joining with the F1 with B point, and this is the head of force F2. So now next is F3. Force F3 is also 4 centimeter along y-axis. Y-axis means vertical direction. This is the vertical direction. So from the point C, we just measured 4 centimeter like this. After measuring the 4 centimeter, just draw the line with the help of scale. On the end of 4 centimeter, just draw a head. This is all three forces that we have drawn. Next step is we have to find the resultant of these three forces. So we have studied according to head to tail rule, just join the tail of first vector with the head of ending vector or last vector. So last vector is D and first vector is A. Just join the line. Okay, now you can see that here is a head. So according to head to tail rule, you have to draw the head over the resultant force, which is F. Head is here and tail is joining with the tail of first vector, and head is joining with the head of last vector, which is D. So this is the figure that we have drawn. Now next step is we have to measure the line AD with the help of scale. So this line is measured with the help of scale, and here it is 11.2 centimeter. You can see 11.2 centimeters. And also we have to find the angle between F force and the force F1, which is DAB. So to find the vector, we use protractor like this. Okay, you just place the protractor on the point A. So the angle between force F and F1 is 37 degree. So this is our angle. So you just find out the angle and length of force F. This is our solution. Now at the end, what we have to do, because the force is always in Newton, and for just drawing the figure we convert Newton into centimeter, so the answer should be in the Newton. So now at the end we have to convert the centimeter answer into Newton, because force is always in Newton, so answer will also be in Newton. So as we set the scale in the starting, that is 1 centimeter is equals to 2 Newton. So we have an answer 11.2 centimeter. You can see at the end of page, 1 centimeter is equals to 2 Newton, and 11.2 centimeter is equals to 2 multiplied by 11.2 Newton. The answer is 22.4 Newton. So by this method we will convert centimeter into Newton. So this is our answer.